welcome. How is everybody doing today? I'm doing really good. Heather's a little heated up um, because of our subject today, and I do understand. So today we are going to be talking about everything that's been going on, the whole Black Lives Matter movement and racism and all of that. I know a lot of people don't like talking about this and it's a very sensitive subject, but honestly, it needs to be talked about. So you have no choice. Well, you do. You do have a choice. You can turn it off and not listen to us, or you can sit and listen to us. So Heather's probably going to be doing most of the talking. I have a few things I want to interject here and there, but Heather's going to do most of the talking because she knows all about this. She's been talking to a lot of people, and she's actually been participating in a lot of the protests and stuff. So it's all yours, Heather.
Woo! Cool. I don't even know where to start. My brain, look, in my brain, I was like, let's go. And then now it just shut off. Where do I even start? So first of all, I want to start off by saying that I have a really weird stance in all of this because I am super Black Lives Matter, like anti-racism. And when I say anti-racism, I mean anti-racism. Like, you have to practice anti-racism like all the time. Like, you've got to police yourself, your family, your friends, and not, I don't mean like be like, hey, yo, fuck you, I'm gonna block you, but educate people and just let people know when their sentiments are racist, even if they're not intentional. So I'm all about that. And the big argument that I'm having today, which I'll start with this first, since it's extremely relevant. We're talking about the term defund the police, because the sentiment behind defunding, okay, is to take money away from, right? You're removing funds from something. So when you look at the majority of the BLM movement, they are saying we want reform. We want to defund what is militarizing our police, because we are one of the only democracies with militarized police. Clearly, I was just telling Maria this. Clearly, if you need fucking military force, you can just ring it up to the fucking National Guard and they'll be on your doorstep, because that happened all over the country in the last few weeks. So why does our police force need military grade anything, military tactics on a daily basis within their communities if they are just here to protect and serve? It doesn't make sense, right? So my argument here is this. Obviously, it's been a few weeks since all this shit has started. I've been to a couple of protests. I've been tear gas. I've been it was peaceful, to be clear. I was not in the middle of a riot or anything. Okay. But I keep seeing this shit pop up now that a couple of weeks have gone by about, y'all want to defund the police, but who are you going to call when there's a problem? You don't want any police officers, but blah, 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 blah. And this is where the message gets ugly. I just looked up on Wikipedia, because I have to research fucking everything. Defund the police. Extremist groups are saying, we don't need police. Abolish police. That's stupid. That is so fucking stupid. While the majority of the BLM movement, especially in the recent uprising of the BLM movement, is talking about reallocating funds back into the communities, into the school systems, into public works, stuff like that, and demilitarizing. So we were discussing that this terminology needs to be changed, because you have people who, I mean, I think it's fair. I think it's fair for some people to be like, you don't want police, but I also think it's fair that if you know the message, to become defensive. And I'm kind of on both sides of that, because I'm defensive because I know the message, but I'm also understanding of the fact that there are good police officers out there right now who are terrified of losing their jobs because of the sentiment of this slogan that's going around right now. Mm-hmm. My other issue is, and we just talked about this, because I'm literally going through a fucking Facebook thread, like, while Maria and I have been talking to each other, and we're talking about, first of all, for me to be able to cut your hair color your hair, lighten your hair, whatever. I had to go to school for 1,500 hours. It takes less than 900 hours for someone to become a cop. That is someone who is going to go in their community on a daily basis, knowing that they could face drugs and violence, and they're wielding a weapon, and they have 900 hours of training in comparison to my hair license. So I just want to give everybody a moment to think about that. I do hair. I'm not putting anyone's life at risk. I'm not, nothing like that. I do hair. Okay. So my whole thing is, I don't think all cops are bad. I don't think all cops go, if anything, I think the majority of people in general are good. I think the majority of cops are good. However, I think there needs to be some sort of gauge. And I think that there needs to be some sort of testing or something to determine whether or not a police officer is ready to go into the field under that sort of stress. Because if you look at it, the majority of these police brutality cases, the cop at fault comes back and says, well, I was scared. You were scared? That's your job. That's your job. So if they're not ready to go into the field wielding that sort of responsibility, then there needs to be some sort of training. I think that message is getting muddy. I think it is getting ugly. I think people are hearing the wrong side of it because it sounds like what it sounds like. It sounds like get rid of police officers. You know how stupid that would be? This is my opinion. Yeah, okay. So here's what happens when you get rid of police officers, okay? The Second Amendment is a real thing. Then you're leaving it up to citizens to decide how to uphold the law. Okay, obviously we've seen plenty of cases of racist people killing and hurting other racist people. We see people attacking people for some petty shit on video all the time and saying you're breaking the law when they're not because they don't understand the laws. So if you're saying that you want police to have to go to school for law and to understand law and all the shit before they can become a police officer, then why on God's green earth would you think that it is okay to put firearms, or even without firearms, put the law into the hands of some of the ignorant ass people in this country? Because that's what would happen, right? I mean, how else would we have law and order? I want your opinion. I don't know. I don't like. How would you feel if your neighbor could just go, "I don't think you're doing this law. Like I don't think you're abiding by this law."
Same, but okay. I did read an article about somebody about a town that had dismantled because they didn't have any funds for it. The police force, and actually the crime went down. But I do get what you're saying, and yeah, I don't believe in dismantling the police force. I really don't. But it also didn't say, the details on how they are going about the whole crimes thing and everything with their community. It's like community-based policing. So they didn't go into detail about it.
Well, I'm not saying that everywhere you're going to have people being assholes. I feel like you're almost more likely, though, to have some kind of like racist asshole, misogynistic asshole, some fucking I know everything asshole, think that they can just do whatever they want. And I just don't think that's a good idea. I think that's a terrible idea. I think that I was talking to one of my friends who is from Scotland. He is from the other side of the pond, and he was saying that in most countries over there, they have police like we have state police. They don't have police on a state, county, city level, and like whatever, like and like then like little tiny like what's the word I'm looking for? Like pockets of like, oh, well, this is the mall police, and this is the, like, they have basically what would equate to state police, and they're fine. When you look at the numbers, of the people who die in countries with less policing, and less militarized policing, like, we see the most death from police. I think, personally, when you get to that point, like he was saying, where you have the amount of police that's like on a state level equivalent here, I mean, that's just basic fucking statistics. There's less people, there's less chance of shit going down. You know what I'm saying? And by having a lesser amount of cops, you can weed out what's off, what's bad. You want to, in my opinion, if it were me running that, and I know that you have this allocated number of people to take care of a whole state, let's say, I would want to know that I have the best of the best doing it. So I'm not saying that they're just letting anyone become a cop, but anyone can become a cop. I'm not saying that's what they're letting happen. I'm saying that that's the reality. Anyone can go and become a cop. I could go become a cop if I fucking could pass the damn physical test, and I can tell you that I ain't right in the fucking head. So I don't want to be a cop ever. No, don't get me stressed. I'll freak out.
Yeah, don't they have a mental evaluation too?
I don't know how extensive it is. But given that, you still have the incidents that you have, and you still have people who come unhinged. You have cops that come unhinged, and you still. So I want to. That's something that I would be interested. That is like one thing that I can admit I have not looked into. I would be really interested to see what that vetting process looks like, because I do hear that a lot when they talk about police reform, is more psych testing. Personally, yeah, I don't know anything about that process, but yeah, I no, that's just like, okay, think about this. So what if you go in, you're a sociopath, you've never been diagnosed, and you bullshit your way through the entire thing because you're a sociopath and you can. Like, that's scary. I don't know how, like, this is the kind of shit that goes through my mind when I stay up at night. Okay, like, I can't turn it off. I'm sorry. But I digress. Moving into the policing of Black communities and white communities. I have lived in both. I have lived in both in separate states. I've lived in both. I've lived in Black communities in Maryland between the DC Baltimore area. I've lived in white communities between the DC and Baltimore area. I've lived in Black communities between or in like the Raleigh area of North Carolina, and I've also lived in white communities, super white communities, in the Raleigh area. We talk about, okay, well, Black people are committing crimes at a disproportionate level than white people, but that's not true. Honestly, white individuals are more likely to commit crimes, and they're more likely to commit worse crimes than Black people. The issue is that the Black communities are over-policed while the white communities are under-policed. These are facts, but these are also something that I have personally witnessed myself because I've lived in both. Never living in a white community have I just watched a cop car patrolling the streets passing my house over and over and over and over. But when I lived in the fucking hood, you best believe I saw the cop cars go by over and over and over. And some nights we were like, why are they here? Like, what is going on? Nothing was going on. That is just how Black communities are treated. So what ends up happening is that you have over-policing, and then you also have more petty crimes that are then escalated into more serious crimes due to treatment or whatever. There's a plethora of things that could make that go fucking sideways, okay? But You have petty crimes that build. You also have the fact that drugs were shoved in to Black communities in the 80s, and it has been a problem. And where there's drugs, there's violence, like duh, right? So you have that going on, and they were planted in Black communities in the 80s. Like this is a fact. These are things they don't teach in school, kids. Okay, so now you have petty crimes. If they already got you for something, they're probably going to ask to search your shit. Okay. And a lot of people either don't know their rights or they're afraid to say no because they're afraid they'll be killed or hurt or whatever. Then you could catch a drug charge. Sometimes people will have a fucking weapon on them and it's registered to them. They still get in trouble for it. There's a plethora of things. Black people are treated unfairly in our system. So here's what I'm trying to say. Okay, when you have over policing and you start with petty crimes and then the crimes build, it looks on paper like Black people are committing more crimes because they are policed at a higher rate and they are sentenced with more serious sentences than white people are. There is a man in jail right now, a Black man in jail right now who took about $9 worth of goods from a convenience store. He's been in jail for 38 years. There's also a white man who just recently molested several kids and he's getting about 3 months per kid. How much sense does that make? Raping little kids, raping children. I'm sorry, to me, like, that's...
Well, the thing is that we already know that there's huge problems in our justice system. We know this. We know this for a fact because of the whole sentencing and you know, you see these people get this much and these people get this much and limitations and things like that. We see it all the time. So I mean, we do know that there needs to be some kind of reform there. Of course, you know. I forgot the point I was trying to make.
Uh-oh.
Oh my God. My mind just kind of completely went blank. Yeah, so crap.
Trust me, I can keep going, and when you're ready, you can just cut me off. It's cool if it comes back to you.
Well, you know, and something else I wanted to say is I know a lot of people, because the way that things are talked about right now, because we'll get to the whole name change idiocracy people in the comments thing, but
oh God, yes.
Yeah, you know, and all these people are saying that you know, I'm not racist. Okay, I understand that, and we all understand that, but it's to the point now. They're saying that it's to the point now. This has been going on so long. It's been going on forever. We just don't see it because we are not affected by it. Okay. So it's not just about not being racist. Okay. And it's something that you were saying earlier to be anti-racism. If you see something going on, speak up about it. Because if you don't, that's the same thing as you agreeing with the person that's doing it. People are so afraid nowadays to fucking speak up and say something. I admit, you know, the way that I was raised, okay, speak when spoken to, you know, type thing, that there's been several times that things have happened and I didn't speak up about it, and it haunts me to this day. Like, seriously haunts me to this day. So that's why they're saying it's to the point where, you know, not being racist is not enough.
It's not enough. No, it's not.
And that's the whole reason why all of this stuff is happening. Because when is enough enough? I mean, you get so fed up with it, and everybody's turning a blind eye to it because, oh, it's not happening to me. I don't understand what this is, and you know, therefore it doesn't exist. And just because you can't see it does not mean it doesn't exist. So, anyway, go ahead.
No, I agree with you. It's so easy for people to be like that. And also, here's the other thing I'm really tired of seeing is people are now trying to take responsibility for the racist history of this country. They're trying to take responsibility for the fact that white wealth was built off the backs of black people. It's very easy for me to go, my family was not here, but like before slavery was abolished. Okay, they might not have been, but as a white woman, I still am getting like I'm still benefiting from the backs of black people, from the work that they did 400 years ago, from the structures and the society that they built over the last 400 years and were not properly compensated for because the whites were building their wealth and using black people. I'm sorry. It doesn't matter if my grandparents came here fucking yesterday. It doesn't matter. As a white woman in America, I still benefit from that. Was my grandfather a slave owner? No. Was my great grandfather a slave owner? No. But that doesn't mean that I don't benefit from what black people have dealt with in the history of this country. So, what I'm finding really interesting is that people are mad that Confederate statues are being taken down and that people are recognizing the racist history of this country, and they're saying, well, you can't erase history. No, you can't, but you can stop glorifying the racists. That's all that they're doing. They're not saying this didn't happen. They're saying, oh shit, that did happen, and glorifying it is wrong, so we should probably stop doing that. Hey, what a concept. I don't get it.
I guess it's a good segue into the whole Lady
Yeah.
Antebellum story. Okay, I did write a status on if y'all want to follow me, y'all can. Nobody can friend me unless they're friends of friends. But that's why I did it that way, because I don't want random people friending me. I'm to the point where I just want to clear out my friends list and Anyway, most of the stuff I post is public, but I posted this as a status the other day. The fact that, and I didn't mention what band it was, but hang on, let me find it.
Were people rude on your status?
No,
Okay,
no.
Good. I was gonna throw hands.
No, they weren't. Man. Okay. I was editing my videos when a notification came through about a page changing its name. I went to look to see what was going on because, I'm nosy. Because it was a band that I listened to. They had a long post explaining the reasoning behind the name change, and I said, I am just so saddened by the comments on their posts. I have really lost faith in humanity. And no, and actually Carrie, she's from Canada, and she goes, nothing but pain and disappointment to be found in the rabbit hole of the comment section. I'm really proud of them. So what had happened was Lady Antebellum, they named themselves, hang on, I might have to edit this out.
Lady A now?
It's Lady A.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry, I was responding to my husband. So
How dare you?
Okay. So yeah, it was Lady Antebellum, and their posts normally get so many comments and everything. This had like hundreds of thousands of comments in it, and they explained that they had named themselves because the antebellum was the architecture of the house that they were in when they got together or whatever. So they didn't realize, and after talking to some of their Black friends and family members and things like that, they decided to change their name to Lady A. And most of their fans call them that anyway. But they were like, we didn't think of what it means to the whole movement and everything. And therefore, they decided to change it. The comment section, oh my gosh, there was more shitty comments than there was positive.
That's rare.
Yeah, and I was like, I mean, there were a few people like, I'm proud of you, whatever. There were these people coming out of the woodwork of, you sold out, you're a coward, I'm not going to listen to you anymore. And they were like, no, none of us can change history, so why are you trying to change, be so politically correct now? And this is ridiculous. The whole, there was one, and I was trying to find it and I couldn't find it because I wanted to screenshot it for you, was that everybody's raising a stink for nothing. All of this is just people whining, and now you're giving into this, and that is just stupid. And then they were like, I have so much disrespect for you and all of this, and I'm post upon comment. I sent Heather a bunch of comments. It's like comment upon comment upon comment about why they should not have done this. And antebellum doesn't even mean any derogatory term. It means before the war, this and that. And I was just like, wow, none of these people get it. None of these people get it. And two, it's a band. If they wanted to change their name, change their name. It doesn't take away from the fact that their music is good. It's a name change. And they were like, well, everybody knows what A is going to stand for anyway, so why change it?
You're raising a fuss. Hold up. You're raising a fuss for nothing, right? These people are asking for basic equal rights. White people couldn't stay in their house for 2 months without a haircut without bitching.
God, right.
These people are saying that you have systematically oppressed us for years. We were slaves for years. We've gone through 400 years of oppression, and all we want is to be treated that you're lucky they don't want to fucking retaliate. Okay, they just want to be treated equal, and you think that that's inconvenient, but your ass fucking went and protested for you protested a virus because you wanted a haircut. Bitch, sit the fuck down.
Well, what they are saying, what a lot of people in the comments were saying, was that they don't believe it happens. It's like once in a million.
What happens?
They don't think that there is racial injustice. There are comments saying, y'all, it's hilarious. Those that are on the podcast and can't listen or aren't seeing what I'm seeing, you see how
I literally want to smack white people. That is white privilege. You don't see it because you don't live it. Holy 13% of the Hold up, because now I learned that I can do this shit, okay? I don't know how to now, but I'm gonna find it. Where's my little graphic that I learned how to put graphics behind me for those on motherfucking YouTube, okay? Let's see. 13% of our population is black, but they make up 40% of our prison system. How much sense does that make? That is a disproportionate amount of black people in our prison system. And let's talk about the prison system real quick, since it doesn't happen. Fuck y'all. First of all, the star of the sheriff badge is modeled after the badges of slave catchers. Look that shit up, okay? It is modeled after racist slave catchers who carried these badges, and their only job was to go look for slaves that have tried to escape, and then they would kill them or hurt them or both. Okay, so let's just start there. When the 13th Amendment was put into place, it says slavery is abolished except for if it is the punishment for a crime. So when that happened, that is when Black people started being arrested for petty crimes like loitering, like looking like a suspect, even if they weren't a suspect of crime. And they didn't even know what the crime was half the time because there was no crime and there was no suspect. They started getting arrested for petty crimes, and they started being put in jail, and they started being charged unfairly, and that was the beginning of mass incarceration. Okay, so when we want to sit here and say racial injustice isn't real, okay, well, how come I can walk into a job with my Becky ass sounding white girl name, and I'm gonna be picked before homegirl over here? Let me think. Kanera, who I love, one of my talented friends, right? If her and I walked into the same corporate job and they saw a resume that said Heather and a resume that said Kanera, they're gonna pick the white girl because it sounds like a white girl name. If I walked in next to my homeboy Kelly and Kelly has a white sounding name, but him and I walk into an interview at the same time, they're more than likely going to choose me for the workforce over him because his skin is black. Let's talk about being black real quick from a scientific level. Black people are the original motherfucking people. So as much as we want to sit here and go, we're superior, bitch, we are washed out. We are superior. We have been squeezed of the gods and goddesses of the original land. Okay, we have lost the royalty of the original kings and queens of the land. When we were a Pangea, okay, everyone was fucking brown. Everyone was brown. I shouldn't even be white, okay? When it comes down to it, we're all the same goddamn race because we all have melanin, motherfucker. It's just the amount of melanin that you have or you don't have. We are not superior. There's nothing special about being white. Nothing. Except for the fact that we built our wealth off the backs of black people in this fucking country. And it pisses me off because the argument I got from a guy in the UK yesterday was, did you know that the first slave was sold by another black person? Fantastic! That's great. You think I didn't know that slavery didn't exist before America? However, that slave was not sold to a white man in America, okay? If the first slave sold to someone in America was the first person who sold a slave was black, it doesn't matter. It doesn't fucking matter because what white people did was use them and abuse them and killed them. That's what the white people did. I don't care who the fuck sold who. I care about what happened after the motherfucking transaction. And what happened was an entire country was built on the backs of black people. And we erased their fucking culture just like we erased the fucking cultures of indigenous people. We wiped out indigenous people. Like, fuck that. We're not going to say we erased their culture. We took them out, okay? We have whitewashed history. We have changed the names of black people. They don't even have their original fucking names from where they actually came from, okay? Also, speaking of which, while we're on that topic, stop calling black people African Americans because not all fucking black people are from Africa. So calm the fuck down. Call them black. They like that. Okay? We took their names. We took everything from them. We took their identity. We took their dignity. We took their lives. And now we're just expecting them to be like, that's cool. That was a long time ago. It wasn't a long time ago. Like, some of these people's fucking grandmas and great grandmas were fucking dealing with the same fucking oppression that fucking Martin Luther King and Malcolm X were fighting. Their families that they can still talk to were a part of the segregation. And we, white people, have the audacity to be like, man, get over it. It's cool. Listen, all I'm saying is if my Nana had been treated like that and she was still here to tell the story, I'd be like, who the fuck was it? Because I'm going to throw hands. Like, I don't have time for this. Okay, like, I know that I sound real, like, ratchet right now because I'm really mad. I am so fucking passionate about this. And just because I sound ratchet doesn't mean I'm not educated on the matter. I'm extremely fucking educated on this matter. That's all I've done is educate myself on this. And people will be like, Heather, why do you care so much? Like, why are you invested the way you are, because like a lot of white people care, but they don't care. You know what I'm saying? I have a daughter that's half black, and when I had her, I thought like, oh, mixed babies are pretty. I didn't think about the things that she would face in her life, and the things that she will face in her life are way different than anything I've ever faced in my life. She'll be too white to be black. She'll be too black to be white. She'll be stereotyped by people. She'll be looked at a certain way from all different communities. And I didn't think about those things. And the last thing that I want to think about is the fact that my daughter has to look over her back because she doesn't know if she's going to be shot, hurt, whatever. Breonna Taylor was sleeping in her house and was shot to death in her bed. Like, that's crazy to me. So, like, yes, I'm passionate about this. One of the people in my life that I care about the most is a black male. And he's an amazing friend to me. And I think about him every single time a black person dies, at the hands of a fucking cop, every single time. And people like to say, well, white people die at the hands of cops. More white people die than black people. Okay, white people make up 64% of the population. So if you're just looking at the fact that there's more white people who die at the hands of cops than black people, then you're looking at the wrong numbers. Because what you need to be looking at is the percentages. Because at the end of the day, there's a disproportionate amount of black people dying at the hands of police. And fun fact, black people are 13% or no, 14%, something like that, more likely to be unarmed when they die at the hands of police. Like, it's stupid. I get really upset about this because I grew up in a place that is very diverse. I grew up between Baltimore and DC. And I don't want to say I don't see color or I didn't see color. Yeah, I saw it. Like, I understood that we were different, but I didn't judge anybody for it, right? And something that was said to me, because I had this conversation with a gentleman, and, you know, something that he said to me that really hit home with me was, you know, there are people like you who've grown up in these different scenarios and they hear it, but they don't feel it, right? And I told him, I said, I feel that because I have heard it and I've thought I felt it because I get upset and I feel the hurt and I want to cry for these families. But this time it's different. It's lit this fire inside of me and I don't know what it is, but I think that's what more people need to start feeling. More people need to stop just hearing like, oh, another black man died and now all the black people are upset about it. This is the largest civil rights movement in the history of the world. Every state in America has protested. Over 18 countries across the entire fucking planet have protested for Black lives in America. If that doesn't tell you something, I don't know what will. I can sit here and I can spit so many fucking numbers at you because I have them. I have them in front of me. I've been schooling people for the last, I don't know how many weeks. I've been listening to the stories of my black friends and I have been trying to amplify their stories. But at the end of the day, like, why is it so hard to just care about somebody? Why does it hurt somebody to say, oh, fuck, yeah, they're not treated the same? I don't understand why it's so hard to do that. Like, what are white people afraid of? What are these racist fucking white people afraid of? Are you afraid that black people are going to be able to work? Are you afraid that black people are going to be able to drive their car or sleep in their bed or sell CDs or sit in their car? Like, are you afraid that black people are just going to go for a run, like just do normal things that white people do and that makes you uncomfortable? Like, why is it such a controversial thing? They're not even saying like, that's the other thing. All lives matter. Fuck you. Black people are saying, no, we just want to matter too. Like, we're not even saying we want to matter more. We're just saying, like, can we matter? And white people are mad about it.
Well, like, of course they are.
So we can steal your names, your lives, your culture. Don't even start on the culture. Your freedoms, everything. And that's fine. But you can't have the same rights as me? Why? I don't get it. I got really amped up like this on a TikTok live, and some girl was like, damn, that escalated. And I'm like, because I'm mad. And every white person should be just as mad because lives are being lost. Everyone's been saying, well, what about George Floyd was a criminal? Okay, so was your fucking president, bro. Like, I'm not a Donald Trump supporter or fan, and I don't care if you are or not. It doesn't matter if you like him or not. Facts are facts. He is what he is too. But y'all like to sweep that under the rug. It's there, it's public, we know it, but we don't acknowledge that because we love Donald Trump. But this man was a criminal, or whoever the fuck else decided the hands of cops, they stole something one time. Whatever the case, whatever the fuck you want to pull up on somebody. I understand that like George Floyd's record was longer than a lot of these other people, but at the end of the day, he didn't need to lose his life over that. I'm sorry, he didn't. And if you're going to sit here and you're going to pull up the record of every black person that's died at the hands of cops, cool. Let's pull up the records of every fucking politician that holds a seat right now. Because I can guarantee you every one of them bitches will be gone, or at least the majority. I'm sorry, but I am more scared of the white man in DC than I am of my black fucking neighbor. And I've been saying that shit for years. The white men in DC want to take away my reproductive rights. The white men in DC want to decide what's best for me as a woman. The white men in DC want to do whatever they want to take rights away from my gay friends and friends and family. They want to take rights away from anyone who doesn't look like them. I'm more scared of them motherfuckers than I am of homeboy on the fucking 2 doors down. Like, people sit here and they look at people following the Black Lives Matter movement and they go, you're sheep. No, bro, you're a fucking sheep. Because let me tell you something. I've walked with those people. And I can tell you, you're not getting the whole story. You're not. These people are like, we need to get the drugs out of our communities. We need to get educated on a higher level. We need to run for offices. We need to rebuild our communities. We need to build better schools. We need to take care of each other. Not one of them said, burn the city down. But when my city was on fire, there were white supremacy symbols all over the fucking downtown buildings. And that's right. Across the fucking country. That's what I mean, though. Like, people want to sit here and say one thing, but you're not in the middle of it. I watched these people. There was a white boy while I was protesting. Okay, I was protesting in Raleigh, and there's a van that comes around, right? And it's covered in like MLK stuff and Black Lives Matter stuff, and they're beeping the horn, and like there are plenty of cars went by, and they beat the horn, and we're like, woo, you know, whatever. And they're beeping the horn, and this white dude who looks totally out of fucking place loses his shit. Is like screaming at the stand, F you. I don't know why I'm censoring myself now. If you were with us, you would get out here and stand with us. You're not with us, you're against us, da, da, da. And all of us are like, what the fuck? And like the organizers of the protest were like, yo, chill. Like he's got they're good. They had drones flying over us. A white dude threw a fucking full water bottle at the drone. And again, the organizers are like, chill. It's fine. When the riots broke out in Raleigh, so the first day that I went protesting, I left because there was a black girl standing at a cop car with a police officer. And she was speaking to him passionately. And she was asking questions and giving her views and telling her stories. And the cop was very indifferent. He wasn't agitated, but obviously he wasn't like, hey, buddy. And a white person jumped in between them and got in the cop's face and got fucking nasty and started a bunch of shit, and it got aggressive. The cop got in the car, called him back up. I didn't know what to do. I like froze. And I just like stood on the sidewalk, and my brother was like, let's go. And I was like, I don't want to go. What if someone dies right now? Like, I want to be here to be a witness if someone fucking dies because of this, because that white person started this. That black girl didn't do anything, and I was scared for that black girl. And then the cop cars come out, and the first people to start rushing the cruisers are white people. And the cruisers are getting pushed back by these white people. And so my brother and I are leaving, And on the way out, because we are supportive of the movement and we are supportive of the love behind the movement and what the movement is actually about, and every cop on the way out, we're like, I hope you have a good night. Please be safe, because it's not police against Black people. It's about equality and abolishing police brutality. We don't want that's what they kept saying. We don't want bad cops. We don't want racist cops. It's not that we don't want cops, and it's not like we're saying fuck the police. We're saying fuck the racist police. Like, we don't want them. So we're walking out and we're saying bye. And all of a sudden, these groups of white people start coming into the protest. And we're like my brother and I both were like, something right. And so, just like we said to the cops, we were like, hey, be safe. It's getting kind of rowdy back there. And they just kind of looked at us like, fuck you, and kept going. And we were like, okay. We get to the car, we're pulling out. There's a couple groups of Black folk and a couple like mixed groups coming through. And we're like, hey, be safe. And they're like, no, we're leaving because it's getting nasty. And we're like, that's like a drastic difference from the fucking white group of people we just talked to. So I go home. So, I get to my car. I make a huge TikTok about like, it's not going to go down on TV the way it went down in person. So let me tell you all what really happened. And I gave my synopsis of what happened that day. I go to bed. I wake up the next morning. There's riots, looting, all this stuff. And I'm talking to my brother and I'm like, I fucking knew this was going to happen, right? So I have an argument that morning, and then I go to the gas station. At the gas station, I'm having a conversation on the phone about how upset I am about like what had just happened in my argument and about just what's been going on in general and standing up for Black people. And there's this Black gentleman in front of me, and he turns around, and at first I almost stopped my conversation because I was like, I don't know if I should have this here. And then I was like, fuck that. If you're uncomfortable, you're part of the problem. I'm going to have this conversation. So I'm having my conversation, and the dude in front of me turns around and he goes, thank you. And I was like, yeah, it ain't no thing. Like, that's fine. Like, we're good. I keep having my conversation, whatever. So we both get up to the counter at the same time. And I'm talking to the guy behind the counter because I know everybody at the gas station. And, I'm like, are you staying safe? Like, how's your weekend? He's like, I'm good. How's your weekend? And tell him I was at the protest. Well, this other kid next to me is like, who was just in front of me, he says he was at the protest. I go out to my car. I'm still bitching. Turns out homeboy's parked next to me. He rolls his windows down because he's real nosy. And then he starts having a conversation with me, and he tells me that, number one, he's like, I never thought ever that I would hear the things you're saying come out of the mouth of a white girl, ever. He said, number two, he said, I was there last night, and he said, we were all, at the courthouse, and they were empowering us, and he was like, and it felt so good, and they were just like preaching love and reform and good shit into our community. And he said, as a Black man, I felt empowered, and that felt so good because that's not how you feel most of the time. He said, we all turn around to disperse, get a couple streets down, and we see it happening. We see the riots and the looting. So, to make my point here, the people who were peacefully protesting were in one part of downtown peacefully protesting, and the people who started the riots and the looting had nothing to do with the peaceful protest. And he was like, in that moment, it felt like all of the power that was just preached to me was taken from me, because I knew they were going to blame the Black community for the rioting and looting. And like, my heart broke for that dude in that moment. Later that week, luckily, stories were coming out across the country saying like, it's not the Black community, it's white people starting these, and there's visuals. People are taking pictures, they're taking videos. There are Black people with cameras saying, nobody in our movement asked you to do this. Stop doing this. They're gonna blame us. And it's frustrating because you want to talk about, well, racial injustice doesn't happen that often. It just happened. In those moments, it's happening. When a Black man is profiled, it's happening. When a Black man is sentenced a harsher sentence than a white man who did the same crime, it's happening. And I told this story pulled over in Maryland with my oldest daughter's father. I got pulled over because my tags were bad. That was my fault. My car had nothing to do with her father. Her father is Black, obviously, because she's mixed. My tags had nothing to do with him. My car wasn't in his name. Nothing with my car had anything to do with him. We got pulled over. The cop asked to see my license and registration, and he looked scared. I was just like, whatever, because I didn't understand. I handed my license and registration. Another cop car pulled up, and they pulled my daughter's father out of the car, and they searched him. And while that cop searched him, the cop who pulled me over looked at me, white girl like you doing with a black man from this neighborhood. Well, fun fact, homie, you think he's in a bad neighborhood, but he's in the neighborhood that rivals my neighborhood. I'm in a neighborhood that's just as bad, and my license says so you know that. So really, this is just, why is a white girl with this black dude?
Mm.
So when you think about racial injustice, you got to think of everything down to shit like that. Down to black men dying because their turn signal was broken. Maybe that was Sandra Bland. That's bad. There's so many stories of black people dying that it's like, you can't even keep up with them. My daughter can play with a water gun in the front yard. And she doesn't have to be scared. My daughter can go to the convenience store when she gets older and buy a bag of Skittles. And I don't have to be scared. White privilege is growing up and not being afraid to walk to my friend's house 3 streets over, while my black friends are told you can't wear a hoodie, you can't wear a do-rag, you can't go shirtless. You have to make sure that you're being respectful at all times. You need to check in with me as soon as you get where you're going, because I don't know if you're going to make it there. I mean, the list goes on and on. If you buy something from the store, make sure you have a bag and a receipt, because they will say that you stole that. I never had. Do you know how many times I've walked in the store and gotten a bang, and they're like, "Going to see it?" I'm like, "Nah, be uncle," because I don't have to think about that. Mike has a friend. I'm gonna keep telling y'all stories. I'm sorry, because it makes me mad what you said. Not that you said it, but you know what I mean. Like the fact that people
right? Yeah, I'm never gonna say something like that.
Hell no. Mike has a friend who, Mike is my youngest daughter's father. He has a friend who was getting his PhD, Stanford, I believe. It was an Ivy League school. And he was outside and he was fixing something on his car. A woman, he's a black man, obviously. A white woman decided that she thought he was stealing the car. And because it was a nice car. And she called the police. Police came and, I mean, fucked him up. He had a dashboard cam because he's not stupid. And, you know, after they fucking beat him up, and they figured out that the car was actually his and that he actually lived there and that he was a student of the school getting a PhD. Okay, not all black people are fucking uneducated and thugs. Okay, it was caught on dash cam. The cops trying to come up with a story together to get out of the police brutality that they inflicted on this kid. And it was caught on his dash cam. And he won. He won his court case. Because he had a dash cam. But if he hadn't had a dash cam, who knows? Who fucking knows? They might not have gotten in trouble for what they did.
Right.
It's crazy because it happens to people we know. And we just go, ooh. Not because we're shitty, but because it's not happening to us. Because our encounters aren't that bad. And for a while, I was like, it can't be that bad. I was ignorant and I lived in it. See, because I may have been in a bad neighborhood, but I was still white in that neighborhood. That's the difference. When the police came, my black friends ran when they did nothing wrong. And I went to the sidewalk to see who was getting in trouble. Because I want to know what's going on. I've watched my neighbors be thrown into the hoods of cop cars. I've watched my friends have their faces slammed into asphalt for reasons they don't even know. Like, what am I doing? My friend who got thrown onto a cop car was standing on his own property.
Wow.
Didn't even know. He wasn't even black. I don't think. But he looked light skinned. He was on his own property. And my brother, I'll never forget, because my brother was down there and he was like, dude, chill, stop. Like, what are you doing? Like, because he was fighting. Because what else do you do? He wasn't fighting like throwing fists, but he was resisting because he's like, I'm not doing anything wrong. Why are you even at my house right now? I'm in my yard. Like, why are you here? Get off of me. And my brother's like, dude, just stop. You're gonna make it worse for yourself by doing this. And it's sad that that has to fucking happen, but that's what happens. That's what happens. You know what? I lived in white neighborhoods, and I've watched kids go 60, 70 through the fucking neighborhoods. Kids are fucked up on Xanax and cocaine while they're fucking mixing that with wine. The white kids are selling way more expensive drugs in their neighborhoods, but they're not getting caught because they're not policed at the same rates. They're just not. And because the parents have money. That's the other thing. We've impoverished a majority. I don't want to say a majority. We've impoverished a good amount of the black community. So there's a stigma that, like, oh, black people are poor, they're thugs, they're thieves, they're criminals, whatever. So it's easy to go to them and beat them up and push them around because they don't have the money to fight me. But Karen, who sits home and drinks wine while her husband comes home making six figures, oh, I'm gonna leave her alone because she's also part of, you know, the city hall, da 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 da. Whatever. Fuck you. Get out of here with that. I apologize. I don't apologize. I was gonna say I apologize for my ranting, but I don't, because white people have an advantage in this scenario where our voices matter more. My voice, and y'all know I love Maria. My voice matters more than Maria's because Maria is brown. Girl, you fine as hell, though. I'm just gonna say. But to the naked eye, someone would go, "Well, you're a minority." Do I agree with that? Fuck no.
Oh, I need to tell you a story. My ex-husband, when we were dating, I had a silver Trans Am. Not Trans Am, sorry, a silver Camaro. And it was fully loaded. And we were trying to get home fast.
Okay.
we were teenagers. Not really teenagers, but we were in our 20s. So Cliff was driving, or my ex-husband was driving. Well, I can say Cliff because nobody knows his last name, but Cliff was driving, and he was going pretty fast. And if you know me, I don't like to drive long distances. So I always made my partner drive. We got stopped, and of course, because he was speeding, and they had him step out of the vehicle, and they were talking to him. The other officer knocked on the window. I lowered the window, and I'm looking at the officer. First thing she says to me, "Do you speak English?" I said, "Yes, I do." And she goes, "I'm sorry, I had to ask." And I was like, "No, you didn't." But okay. And he goes, "He's saying that this is your car." And I'm like, "Yes, it's my car.
It is my car. Thanks."
Right? I mean, I was 21 driving a very nice car because I was working when I was 21. I was like in my full-time job working. So I had a lot of money because I was still living with my parents. I didn't have to pay for nothing. So I had a really nice car. And she goes, well, he's a little nervous. And I'm like, okay. My ex-husband was naturally nervous. He was always nervous because he was never in trouble. And they go, well, he gave us permission to search the car. And I looked at him. I was like, well, it's my car.
Right.
And she goes, we can't get his permission. We have to get yours. And I was like, it's fine. I don't care. So they in turn searched the car, took my seats out of my car. Okay. Took my seats out of my car. They had picked up my purse and they were like, is anything going to poke me in here?
Oh my God. Yeah, my dildo. Out of my vibrator.
Right. And then picked up some pills because I am, and I've said this before, I have high anxiety. I have a anxiety disorder. I have panic disorder. So I take meds for it. So they were like, well, what is this for? And I said, it's my anti-anxiety medications. Or, and then they were like, okay. The entire time they were rude to me. They were so rude to me. And then they left. Of course, they gave them a ticket, but then they left everything out of my car. So we had to pack everything back up in the car.
They didn't put your car back together?
Mm-mm.
What the fuck?
Yeah, and my sister goes, you do realize that you were in a small town, so they basically racial profiled you.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I know. But, and Cliff was just like, I can't believe that happened. And I'm like, why?
You're like, I do.
Like, why? I knew something was going to happen the moment I rolled down the window and she asked if I spoke English. What the fuck? All you have to do is say hi. I'm like, hello. Oh, God.
Right. Dude,
yeah.
You know what? It's fucked up. It's fucked because a lot of people don't talk about it. Now people are starting to talk about it more. But, like, that could have been avoided, number one. Number two, they didn't have to take your fucking seats out. Number three, they could have fucking put them back. And I'm sure that they thought that you were a little Hispanic girl. So they could just treat you however.
Mm-hmm.
Michael was telling my brother, for those who don't know, Michael was telling me a story of how when he was in Maryland, it was him, Christina, and our friend Desmond in the car. And Desmond is black. And my brother was speeding, like he was like, I just want to see how fast I can go, kind of thing. And he almost hit a state trooper and would have killed him, killed him had he hit him, right? So he gets pulled over, obviously, and the guy's talking to him. And then the dude starts questioning Desmond. And giving, mind you, Desmond's in the back seat. He's not even up front. He's in the back seat. And Michael's like, could have killed you had I not seen you. Like, I'm driving. I committed the crime. Why are you talking to him? Like, what the fuck did he do?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yep. He rode in a car while black. I will never understand what it is like to be brown or be whatever. I'll never understand what that's like. And in a way, I'm grateful because you gotta think, have you ever seen that thing where it's like, if you would like to trade places with a black person in America, stand up. And they're like, you didn't understand the question, try again. And like, nobody stands up. Like, in a way, I'm grateful. And in a way, I'm sad. It's weird. It's very conflicting. And I'm sad because I want to understand your struggle because I just do. I want to understand that so that I can further empathize with you.
But you'll never understand it because you don't go through it. I mean,
exactly.
and Yeah, and that's the thing. That's the same with me because I don't go through it as much as a Black person does.
Right.
And it's not to the degree. Yeah, okay, it was annoying, but it's not to the degree of what a Black person goes through. So I
Mhm.
mean, you know,
Right.
you'll never understand that.
No. My kid's knocking on the door. I'm gonna throw something at her in a minute. No, and I won't understand it. And, it makes me sad because I walk through these protests and these girls are like, I don't want to have children because I'm afraid I'm going to have a son and I'm afraid he's going to get killed. And it doesn't matter if he's 7 or 17 or 20 or 35. Like, it doesn't matter. Just because he's Black, he's at risk in America. And I never want to have that fear as a parent. And but I want to empathize with, it's like, it's such a conflicting feeling because fuck no, I don't want to feel that way. But damn it, like, you shouldn't have to be alone in that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what, I told Maria something, and I posted it on my TikTok, and I don't really care who fucking knows about it, hears about it. I called it out. It is what it is. So I'm a big believer. Black voices, minority voices. Let's stop. I mean, it's not even just Black voices. Minority voices are shut down. Minority voices are silenced. Minority voices are definitely hushed, to say the least. And so, as white individuals, we do have a responsibility to, like we talked about earlier, be anti-racist, to educate, because Black people shouldn't have to keep educating white people on their fucking history in this country. Okay. It is our job to speak out when we see racism. I saw a Black boy pulled over and taken out of his car, and you better fucking believe I pulled over on the side street and I sat in my car and I watched to make sure nothing happened to that poor kid. Like, that is our job right now, and it is our job to speak because we are heard. And it's our job to amplify Black voices as much as we can, because I'm sorry, let's be real, like, a white person is going to have more white friends on their social media than a Black person. More than 9 times out of 10. So if we can amplify those voices by putting them on our platforms, and we need to do that. And I told Maria that I was very upset because there are some creators on TikTok. If you haven't used TikTok, let me tell you something. TikTok is blown the fuck up, okay? People have these huge platforms. Even if it's hundreds of thousands, there are people who have millions of followers on TikTok. And to me, I feel like even with a small platform, it's my job to educate and amplify and be an ally and be anti-racist and whatever. I feel like that's my job, right? So if I had a following of 1 million+ people, 5 million people, 10 million people, hell the fuck yeah, I would feel like it's my job to speak up, right? And I got really upset because there were a couple of creators who came out who had almost the exact same response. They sounded so scripted. There was zero emotion. There has been zero talk of it since the one post. And then so one night I'm scrolling through TikTok and one of those people's post pops up. And all it says is, "Hey, white people, shut the fuck up. It's not our voices that need to be heard." So I went to comment on it because this person had like almost 5 million followers. I went to comment on it and be like, yo, fuck you. Maybe you should duet more Black people. Maybe you should duet more Black stories. Maybe you should be more of a voice and be more of a platform for the Black community right now, since you got so many people paying attention to you. He took the post down. I want to be very clear when I say that every single Black friend I have, every comment I got on my video addressing that issue from a Black person was, no, we want you to use your voice. We need you to use your voice. We need allies. We need everyone to come together. And that person was wrong. Here's the thing. If you are truly anti-racist, if you truly care about everybody, okay, Captain's All Lives Matter, right? If you truly think that, if you say all lives matter, then you're saying that Black lives matter and that they deserve to have equal rights. By the way, you dum-dums. If you truly feel that way, you don't care if you lose followers. You don't care if you lose sponsorships. Because people dying is more important than holding a bang up in a video with your bang sweater on, going drink bang. Like, seriously, like, that's all I could think of was like, you're afraid to lose followers and you're afraid of losing your fucking sponsorships. I'm sorry, but if I lost every personal, I called my mom out today because I don't fucking care. I don't care who the fuck you are. If you say some ignorant shit, I'm gonna call you out on it. Because we were having the discussion, I was having a discussion of defunding the police and what that message actually means versus how it's being misconceived. Mm-hmm. And my mom posted a video of these protesters who were met with a man with a chainsaw who said, call 911. And the guy in the video was like, oh, really? And my mom was like, you're an ass. And I was like, well, you're basically calling me an ass. She's like, they're calling to defund the police, but asking to call the police at the same time. And I had to explain it to her. And I explained that the wording is shitty. And I think that we need to change that slogan a little bit to make more sense. But I don't care who you are. I will call you out on your shit. There's a lot of things that I don't, when it comes to facts and amplifying stories, fucking do it. Here's where I think we don't have a say as white people. Okay, as allies, here's what you can do, okay? And this is coming from what Black people have told me. I am not telling you from my white perspective. I'm telling you from the mouths of Black folk that I know and love, okay? Support their businesses, amplify their stories, educate your white friends, call out racism, protest if you can, vote. Those are the big ones, right? What we shouldn't be doing as white people, don't talk about the struggles of the Black community. I've lived within a Black community and I don't know the struggles that they had, okay? I can tell you that right now. We don't need to be talking about the struggles of the Black community because we don't know them. We don't need to be talking about anything in Black culture or Black households because we don't understand it. We don't need to be discussing the use of the fucking N-word, okay? It's offensive. White people, don't use it. Don't tell Black people how to fucking use it, okay? There's different trains of thoughts amongst people in the Black community, but at the end of the day, we don't have a say. We just don't, okay? I know I've seen a lot of white people be like, well, if you don't want it used, then you shouldn't say it. Last I checked, it didn't oppress you, bitch. Calm down. Some people have the thought process of, I want to take that word back and own it. And some people have the thought process of, I don't want to fucking hear it because it makes me think of bad shit. That's their shit to handle. That's not our shit to handle. But we don't need to be policing Black people as a white community. We don't need to be trying to let them tell their stories. When I say amplify Black stories, I mean literally take their shit and repost it. It's not your story to tell. Let their name be attached to their stories because it's theirs. And someone's going to read it simply because it's theirs. And if you are afraid that someone won't read a Black story because it's their post, then here's what I want you to do. I want you to copy it. I want you to paste it. And then I want you to tag that bitch at the very, very bottom so that someone will read the entire thing before dismissing it. Because we don't need to be doing that. That's not our job. All I'm going to ask for out of this entire thing is don't be racist. That's really not that hard. If you listen to us, like if you listen to our podcast, share it because these are stories that we have, that we've witnessed, that we've been a part of. These are facts. These are, these are things that need to be heard. And sometimes,
Heather is going to send me some links, and I can put some links in the show notes too. So.
Yeah, and I will also send Maria some Black companies that, like, Black-owned companies that you can support, because I think that's really important. So I follow a bunch of, like, hair, makeup, everything, but I will definitely research some more companies that are outside of the beauty world. I just work in the beauty industry. That's why I have a lot of beauty industry pages that I follow. Yeah, so, like, I'll definitely look at other things, but definitely, like, please take the time to listen to this. Take the time to acknowledge the passion in my fucking voice, because every white person should be angry. Because I want you to think about, if you are not a person of color, I want you to close your eyes right now. And I don't know if you've seen the video of George Floyd. If you have, you can think about that. If you just have to think of the death of someone at the hands of someone else, I don't care. I want you to think, if that's your brother, father, grandfather, uncle, son, sister, like, I don't care. I want you to sit, I really want that to sit and resonate with you. I want you to think about this too, which I meant to touch on earlier. The argument of black on black crime and black on white crime. Black on white crime is half of what white on black crime is. You can go to the FBI statistics page for that. And citizens are not trained to handle violent conflict the way police are. We do not come into this world with the duty to protect and serve. Being a police officer is a choice. Being black is not. Okay? Please think about that when you hear the black on black crime argument, or when you hear the white on black and whatever. It's so fucking stupid. But honestly, like, just be more human. Like, be more human. Stop looking at people and judging them on the color of their skin, and just fucking worry about what's inside of them. My brother had a whole live yesterday where he talked about, talk to your neighbors of different cultures and who have different skin colors, and, who have mixed families. Like, talk to people. You want to talk about connecting with people, and you want to talk about really understanding, talk to people in your everyday life, instead of going straight to, and I'm not saying anything bad about all news outlets. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying some are fucked, okay? But the news and the fucking trash magazines and all this shit, like, a lot of it is for ratings, right? And there is good honest journalism out there, but that's not always that's not what's happening in your community every day. Talk to your coworkers and your friends and your neighbors and the grocery store guy and the gas station guy. I fucking love all the people at my gas station. I won't go to another gas station because I've gotten to know all the guys at my gas station. Like, but talk to them. Be more human and connect with people. We're not that different. In our day-to-day lives, as humans on the inside, we're not that different, but our struggles are different. And by listening and educating ourselves and learning, we can create a different future for our children and their children and their children, by simply listening and just fucking caring about somebody else. Get past the color of someone's skin. I promise, if someone is black, they're not going to rob you. If someone is Hispanic, they're not going to try and sell you cocaine. If someone is white, they're not embezzling all the money from the company. I mean, they might be. No, I'm kidding. But seriously though, like, if they're Indian, they're not, that doesn't mean they're cheap. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got to get rid of all this shit. So, love thy neighbor, or whatever the fuck. I digress. I'm sorry. I really took over this.
Well, it's fine. But before we sign off, I have a question for you. Did you ever watch White Man's Burden?
I don't even know what the fuck that is.
It's a movie.
Nope, but I will.
With John Travolta and Samuel L. Jackson.
White Man's Burden. I actually have a whole list of things I need to watch, so I'll add that.
It is, and I've seen mixed reviews on it, but I actually liked it. I watched this a long time. It's an old movie, like old.
Okay.
I watched it a long time ago, and it's set in an alternate America where white people are the minority and the black people are the majority. And it actually, things that I would not have noticed, like stuff that I would not have noticed, it shows it in this movie.
Interesting.
It's a very good movie. It's a good movie. I mean, if you get past a lot of cliche storylines in there,
yeah,
it's a good movie. So you should watch it. But
I will definitely
old.
watch it for sure. There's a lot of stuff on like Netflix right now and stuff that, you know, Netflix is pushing a lot of movies that are just educating on Black history. Yeah, so I'm really I need to sit down and watch. It's hard with P because she's tiny. And I don't know. I'm sure that there is graphic content in these movies, so it's hard to watch them with her. Yeah. But yeah, I definitely have a whole list of movies that I want to watch. That's something else you can do is watch some of these movies if you're listening to this. If you just go on Netflix, like it's a whole section. If you have children or if you are a child listening to this, petition for your schools to educate on Black history more because from what I understand, the education system when I was a kid was still whitewashed, but I mean, like, they're not even teaching about Indigenous people in schools anymore. No. I was told that kids get like one day of history about Indigenous people. So I highly suggest that you I don't know, get parents together or something and petition to have all of American history taught in schools, not just whitewashed American history. I think that kids need to know, I mean, at the appropriate time about Indigenous people and about the Black history. I mean, there were things that I was being taught at a fucking rally that I was at, or a protest that I never learned in school about Martin Luther King. Like, hello. So yeah, I think that's really important. Definitely petition for more education about different cultures and their history in this country.
My son and I had I do like that this has opened up conversation with my son.
Yeah, because that's great.
Yeah, we sat and talked for a long time because he was like, I want you, he goes, look at, he goes, I'm disgusted. And so we sat down and we were talking, and because he was talking about the police and everything, I'm like, they're not all bad. You know, you're coming from the thinking that they're all bad. They're not all bad. And then we started talking. I'm like, okay, I go, you do realize history is repeating itself? And he's like, he goes, huh? I go, have they taught you in school about the Rodney King incident? And he's like, no. I'm like, dude, what are they teaching you in school? Yeah, I'm like, what are they teaching you in school?
That wasn't that long ago. That was like 92, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I had to explain everything to him and everything that was going on. And he's like, wow. And so we had this long conversation, and then he went to his room and he was researching and doing all of that. So the good thing is that it's opening up conversation with children, and people are actually starting to talk about it instead of just kind of sweeping it under the rug and it doesn't happen. So
yeah, I said, they don't, go ahead.
They don't see a lot of this stuff because we live in a small country town.
Yeah.
So they don't see a lot of it. But and I told him, I said, just because you don't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Exactly. Well, Mike and I had that conversation about Persephone, and my daughter is very young, like she's a toddler, so she can't really grasp it right now, but one day she will know her sister, who does not look like her. She's half Black. And we talked about wanting to raise her and teaching her age-appropriate things as they come up, about other cultures, especially the Black community in America. I mean, you have relation, like you are the sister of a girl that is half Black, and that's something that we need to do more. We get so focused on what's going on within our own lives that we forget sometimes that there's other people living, having different struggles than us. And I don't believe that we can always depend on the school systems to teach our kids everything. But
All right.
I think that's
What I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you
no,
again.
you're fine.
What gets to me, and that's what gets to me. They talk about 9/11, okay, which happened after that incident. Yet when they talk about racism and everything and all of that, they don't talk about those incidences. I don't understand that. I don't understand it.
What I do think is pretty great, though, is that what's happening right now will be in my daughter's history books. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just erase an entire worldwide civil rights movement. And everyone wants to talk about you can't erase history. Well, y'all did a really good job erasing it when you only focused on what white people gained and not acknowledging the pain that that Black people went through. You can't just ignore a worldwide civil rights movement. And the big thing for me is just teaching her not to not see color, because I think that's dangerous, but explain to her how her friends' houses may be different. I won't know for sure because, like we talked about, I'll never know. But I can explain to her the neighborhoods that I grew up in and what I saw and how I saw that my friends were different, but I didn't understand until I was an adult. And Mike actually went to a predominantly Black school in Raleigh, believe it or not. And so he has a little bit of a different insight into whatever his experience was. I feel bad because I really dismiss him sometimes, but we, I think that it's our job as white parents to explain that, yeah, your friends are different. You do have friends of different colors and different cultures, and let's talk about it. Let's talk about what their culture is like, because we don't have any culture. Our culture was owning Black people and building our society off of them. So we don't want to talk about ours. I'm kidding. We're going to talk about it, but they have a much deeper rooted culture, and they have seen more in their lifetimes than we will ever see. And I think that it is important for kids to understand that there is a difference and that we need to respect each other by understanding each other's differences and history and hardships and daily. I mean, right now, and I'm sure, I don't know how that's going to change. And I know nothing changes overnight, but right now, the daily differences in lifestyle. I don't know. I think that stuff's really important. Just like teaching your, I feel like teaching your kids about different religions is important. Shit like that. Like, teach your kids. Don't be so close-minded that you think that your life is the only one going on. Because that's what I'm seeing a lot of right now. Well, you're really inconveniencing me. Like,
right.
Okay,
we have that
well,
problem nowadays. Everybody seems to be very self-centered, and so.
Well, I always say it takes a lot more energy to hate somebody than to be kind. So
damn, that's the truth. I can't. Hate just hurts. I can't do that.
It's so much energy, and you think about it, and it makes you tired, and it makes you sad. Like, no wonder why. I was about to say something, and I don't even care. No wonder half of these racist ass white people look older than they are. Like, you've been stressing over Black people for how long? Black don't crack, baby. I'm just saying, that's a real thing. That's a real thing. But I'm saying, like, you've been stressing about your Hispanic neighbor, your Black neighbor, your this, your that. No wonder you look old as shit and you're only fucking 50. Like, dude, chill. Stop hating everybody. Just love everybody and everything will be fine. Like, fucking chill. The sooner we can embrace our differences and be understand. Why is this a hard concept? I know it's not.
Because people don't want to listen to it. People don't want to hear it.
Well, because then you got to do something different. You have to put an effort forth. Yeah. That's stupid.
Yep. Exactly. So, yeah, we will end this one here because it's been an hour and a half.
Oh, shit.
It's okay. It was a very important topic that we needed to discuss. And like I said, Heather was going to do most of the talking anyway. So, and I just interjected.
Going, but I won't.
And I just interjected when I was like, oh, there's a thought. But yeah, I mean, it's something that really, really, really needed to be talked about. And I know not a lot of people are going to hear this, but hopefully once we actually get popular, this podcast actually gets popular, they'll go back and listen to our older podcasts. And, you know,
I hope that this one is important enough that people actually listen to it, honestly. Like, I will share this everywhere. I will ask everyone else to share it because it's extremely important. I don't care if you listen to the old shit, but you need to hear this.
Right. So, all right, guys, we love you, and hopefully we will get into a better schedule and whatnot. Heather's working now, so she had to get settled in her job, and now we're trying to figure out good times to record. So.
We're doing great. We're doing great.
All right. Y'all guys have a wonderful day, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.